Hi, so guys, welcome to the Next Step Fitness podcast. This is episode 3 with the man himself, the man from Navan, Mr. Dan Glynn. Dan is a good friend of mine. We went to college together, man. Shared some good memories over fitness, points, whatnot. Some good stories to tell. So, Dan, would you like to introduce yourself? Kind of give us a quick background on what you do and where you're from.
Yeah. So thanks for the introduction. Thanks for having me on. It's been a long while since I seen you last. You've gotten a bit taller, so it's good to see. But I know, as Vinny said, we went to college together down in Tralee. Myself, I'm from Navan and Meath. And what I do as well, we both study the same course, which is Health and Leisure in Tralee. And after 3 years, I think for me, I kind of found that along my own journey personally and where things were at then, I found I had my fill with the course. Now, the course was amazing. It has me where I am now today. But for me, I just left college and then after 3 years and then just started up my own business. And since then, I think things have changed like we all do a lot over time. And as we learn and grow and develop more, we learn more, we have different views, different opinions. And I think for me, the business has kind of changed from that. So at the start, I was all about the physical in terms of health and fitness. And then as I began coaching, as I began working with people and working on myself, I realized there was more to this. And what I noticed in the fitness industry personally was everyone was just focused on the physical element of health and the physical element of fitness. But a lot of what my work came from was the mental side of fitness, manage our mental fitness, our emotional fitness, and how that actually integrated into physical, actual, true health. And for me, that's kind of the journey I'm on, and discovering more and learning more and working more with people. And I find myself, the more I dive into that and get into that, the difference it makes for people to actually achieve true health. Like.
Yeah, that's something definitely I think that's going to be the main thing what we want to talk about today. But first of all, getting back to like you started kind of finishing up after the 3 years of college, and I know a lot of people will feel in the same boat because I was in the same boat. When did you know that you were going to finish after 3 years and you weren't going to do the fourth year and that you had found your why? Because I know some people are probably like have found their why and they realize the thing they're doing isn't maybe what they exactly want to do, but they're kind of they're scared to make that step and kind of almost test the uncharted waters. How did you find that situation?
Yeah, it's kind of a deep story, but I'm sure you know a bit of it, bit of it as well. But for me, when I was in college, basically again in third year, so we automatically knew in second semester that it was all work experience. And for me, rewind a bit in first semester, we were studying health, studying fitness, studying all these things, and I developed a keen interest over that over the years. My first thing I wanted to do when I went to college first was actually PE teaching. But as I went again on my own journey and learning more about health and fitness, that's the area I kind of want to go down. And then I remember one Sunday evening, I drove down to college, nice 4 hour drive on a Sunday. I always looked forward to that. But I remember coming down from college and I got a call from Mom, which was always strange for me on a Sunday evening because I text her when I'm here, but she never usually called me because I only left the house. But basically, I had a call and it was from Mom to say basically that my uncle committed suicide. And it was a massive kind of low point in my whole life. And for me, again, like rewinding back, like I said earlier, I never really focused on the mental side of health or fitness or anything. And it left me in a bit of a grey area, wondering why did this happen? Why me? Why shouldn't I have done something or should I have done something? And again, it left me a little bit lost, confused, and quite down. But again, like most men, naturally the ego doesn't want to show that because it always wants control over everything. And for me, I just didn't let that show. But what happened then is we had a holiday already booked and we were like, will we go? Won't we go? Should we go? Shouldn't we go? And we just went. And for me, that holiday was absolutely mind blowing and mind opening because it was the first time I looked at something called a podcast, hadn't a clue what it was back then. Found this word called mindset, hadn't a clue what it was back then. And then I listened to one episode of a podcast and I can't even remember what it was. It was about something regarding mindset, but it just absolutely opened up and blew my mind. And on that holiday, I think I was sitting by the pool and I sat there for about 10 hours straight, listening to about 40 episodes of podcasts in relation to mindset. And when I was on that holiday and when I came back after it, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I knew for me, I was like, okay, so anything that happens in terms of a situation or anything that happens that we don't want or don't expect to happen has happened. But what we can always control in terms of that is always our response. And for me, then I was like, okay, this has happened. There's absolutely nothing I can do to change what has happened or what has went on. But there's some incredible thing I can use from this. And for me, what happened obviously with my uncle, it was a real sign for me, okay, I don't want this to happen to me. And if it happened to him without me even knowing, how do I know it's never going to happen to me or happen to anyone else? So that's why when I came back from the holiday, I just worked so much on myself. And I think, Vinny, you were there as well. That was the time I remember Jared, I think, was there. I think Sean O'Sullivan was there. We used to go to Block 2 gym and train at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Stupid o'clock. But we were just it was so committed I was just to physical health in that time. I wasn't going out in college. I was really working on myself in the background, and that's what my why was then. And that's what has brought me to, I suppose, make that decision when I was in college. Right, this is absolutely what I love. There's a reason why this has happened. And for me, the reason was why it happened was for me to use that mess as a message for going forward, for working with people, and for changing, I think, not how we see health physically, but how we can see the whole bigger picture. And that's why when in that third year, I was thinking, right, I'm going to go and work experience, and this is it. I'm just going to start up my business from scratch. And everything I've learned from the mental and emotional side of health and fitness, I'm going to bring this into my physical health and fitness and into working with clients. And I think my way just stretches back from then is what happened back then. Sometimes we can get caught up in situations and things like that and allow that emotion, that energy, that stress to consume us. But for me, I allow it to consume me positively to make a real reaction or a real change from it. I think that's where my first why ever stemmed from. Like,
Yeah, and I think that's one of the best things about almost like the whole fitness and the health and wellness industry as a whole. Like you came down to college thinking you were going to become a PE teacher, and whatever happened along the way, different tragedies and stuff in your life kind of helped you shape, become the person you are and the route you went down into coaching people. I was kind of like, I came into the course thinking like I knew I wanted to be a trainer. I didn't want to do PE or anything like that. But for me, it was just I wanted to be a trainer because I wanted to get in shape myself. You know, when you're just growing up and you're always the skinniest fella on the football team or the skinniest fella in the class, skinny Vinny. You're just like stuff like that kind of sticks with you. But like that was my reason of getting into the fitness industry. But like the whole thing kind of just flipped on its head then when I was in there and when I got out into teach or work experience, I just realized that like this isn't why I'm doing it. Why I'm doing it is because I just felt like I enjoyed coaching people so much. I just got on with people, loved interacting people, helping people, kind of bring them on their journey, help them find what their goals were and what their fitness journey was going to be like. So I think that's what I love about kind of the industry we're in. Everybody kind of ends up at their own place they want to be, and it doesn't matter where they came from or how it happened, but that's just how it happened. You speak about
yeah.
like you started working on your physical fitness, but now your business is pointed towards that as well as like mental wellness, emotional fitness, everything like that. How do you do this with your clients and let's say followers, and how can it be of a massive impact to people who haven't tried it or want to get into it or just not even sure what it is?
Yeah, I think the first thing with it is to, number one, I think approach open mind. So for me, if I rewind back 5 years, I'm one of them guys who used to see someone put up a quote and think, what an idiot. Like, and I used to be one of these guys that see people meditate and doing yoga and doing all this stuff, thinking, jizz, them boys are for the birds. They're cracked. So yeah. But for me, again, I think sometimes this can happen to people. That when you're on a journey, sometimes situation events happen in your life and it can open up your mind completely. And I think for me, that's what I realized was the power mental and emotional fitness I actually had. And when I started out coaching and training people, I realized everyone that came into me knew how to train. Everyone who came into me knew, right, I have to eat more protein if I want to build more muscle, or be fuller for longer, or whatever it was, or I need to eat more veg to feel better, or I need to drink more water so I'm not dehydrated, and that'll help with my sleep and all this. Everyone knew the physical things to do, and right now everyone knows the physical things to do. But why don't we do it? Why don't we live it? And why don't we preach or practice it? Again, knowing and not doing is the same as not knowing, and it's a big thing that I learned from the start was, okay, what's the driving forces behind this, and why do people sometimes know the things to do but don't actually follow it? And that was, I think, for me, was always a driving force. I think for someone right now is, number one, you know exactly what you have to do. You know, if you want to feel better, if you want to live better, you got to move, you got to exercise, you have to eat well, you have to drink more water, whatever it is for you. But ask the question, why am I not doing it? And I think that's the most important, I think, for anyone, is to build in something, is to find, or like you said at the start, a true and deep reason as to why you're doing what you're doing. And then as you start on your journey and as you build this in, you'll start to learn more about yourself. You'll start to learn more. What I find with clients is how the body mind are completely connected. And without one working efficiently, it's like a whole system, it just collapses down. Again, it comes back to like you have a Lamborghini sitting outside the front of your house, and someone comes up, Jesus, that car is unbelievable, brand new, spanking new, tires are brand new, looks incredible. And then they open up the bonnet and there's no engine inside. And sometimes for us, what I find is our mind is like the engine of us. Sometimes if we're not looking after that engine, servicing it on time, or treating it with the right chemicals and things it needs to be treated with, it's not going to perform optimally. So if that's not performing optimally, well, then the car's not going to move. And if we're not performing optimally, mentally, emotionally, well, then we're not going to be at our best, whether that's physically or whatever that is. So I think the key thing is that I find with clients, number one, coming up with an open mind. And secondly, it's very hard, obviously, to say, right, this is what you should do, because as you know yourself, each person's completely individual. But I think the second thing to do is realize that the way you're living, the way you're thinking, the way you're communicating with yourself has you the way you are currently right now. So if you want to change, if you want a different outcome, if you want to live differently, if you want to think differently, well, then something has to change. So if you're not willing to go there, or willing to open up your mind to what can be, well, then we're never going to change at all. And I think it's to know within that, yes, it's going to be tough. Yes, it's going to be challenging. But as I always say to clients, actually feeling well and living well is actually tough. It actually takes a lot of work. Again, for example, you have to train maybe 3 to 4 times a week. You have to eat the right foods. The easy option to do is sit there on the couch all day, stick on Netflix, have a bar of chocolate and a cup of tea. That's the easy option. But how do we feel when we do that? Absolutely miserable. So to actually feel well and live well actually is hard and takes work. But is it worth the result? Is it worth how you feel? Is it worth how you live? Absolutely. And I think that's the key thing for anyone, is the number one, approach with an open mind. Number two, become aware of how you are living, how you're thinking, how you're communicating with yourself has you the way you currently are. So if you continue to live like that, you will continue to be like that. And I think the third option, like I was saying there, is to just approach it in that way. Like,
Yeah, I think like that has to be a lot more of like the conversation people are having, is like defining like what success in fitness and health is like, and stop running this kind of rat race almost of like, you have to be the leanest or the most shredded. Like success should be talked as like, how do you define your success as being happy? Like, are you happy in the person you are, and like not just the way you look, the way you feel, the way you think, like you were saying. Do you feel more confident? Like, you feel like you're a better person? And like that for me, like, is just a lot better gauge of how you should look at success, rather than just being in shape. Because I know you were saying something
Yeah,
about the Lamborghini. Like I heard the saying is like, you'd rather be happy. I'd rather be happy in a Toyota Corolla than crying in my Rolls Royce. And like, a lot of people might think that, oh, like you would know, like, I'd be a lot happier if I had money or if I was in shape and stuff like that. But like you were saying, that's only exterior. If you don't look after what's inside, you're never gonna feel content in yourself and who you are. And
exactly. Yeah, and even I think even with that point there as well, like you're saying, is the exterior, and sometimes we can always be chasing, and it comes back to that thing. I'll be happy when I get
yeah,
to there, and I lived that life as well. I remember back saying, right, I'll be happy when I start my business. Boom, start the business. I'll be happy when I work with my first 100 clients. I'll be happy then. And then I remember, right, I'll be happy when I win health and fitness business of the year. I'll be happy then. And back then, I was always chasing something to be happy. And then even from a body composition, a physical perspective, I always like, right, I'll be happy when I'm really lean. I'll be happy when I'm really strong, or lift this weight, or do this thing, or achieve that thing. And it never actually brought me full happiness. Whereas now I can happily and confidently say I'm at a place of what I say is pure peace rather than happiness. Because me personally, I think chasing happiness, of course, is important. But I think if we're chasing that, then we'll always be chasing it, because there's not one time in your life that you'll always be happy. If you are, you're probably delusional to everything going on. But if you can accept whatever situation you're in and find peace within that, I think that's the true element of happiness. And like you're saying, it's trying to intuitively feel and come into that. Like one of my good friends, Darren, as you know him, he's actually went away there a couple of weeks ago and worked with people over in Africa. And anyone who doesn't know this fella, this is the type of fella who has never been out of the country nearly in his life. Has, it wouldn't have much of an open mind. I'm sorry if you're listening now, Darren, but going to give you a good bit of praise here. But if you can imagine and visualize this person in your mind, and then he went over and worked with people over in Zambia, people who had absolutely nothing. No house, no home, barely any clothes, walked around their feet. And even he said every second night nearly there was massive thunderstorms. But one thing that he realized when he came back was the people there and the happiness and peace they had with absolutely nothing absolutely blew his mind. When they used to come up, he was on the medical care staff, so they'd be looking after him. These people used to make stools out of sticks and branches. And when they come up with sometimes with massive cuts, massive wounds, they'd carry a chair to give it to the person who was actually trying to fix their foot, their hands, or whatever it was. And it just showed how incredible their outlook and perspective was in things when they had absolutely nothing. And each day they didn't know whether they were going to live or survive, because each day they woke up, they had to hunt to get food, they had to work to get water or whatever it was. Some even, I think he said one girl that they used to teach us that used to have to walk 2 hours to school. But when we look at everything that we have and how we live and how incredibly lucky we are, sometimes we're not even happy with that or grateful with that. But people living in them situations that he was working with, he's never in his life seen anyone with more joy and more peace. And it really makes you ask the question as to what am I chasing for?
Yeah, I think that's like, it's such an eye opener, like especially like knowing Darren, like how everyone can just like see this different way of life and different perspective on life more so than anything. And you were saying that like how like feeling good and being well kind of takes a lot of work. And you see a lot with a lot of people, they might eat their, like they mightn't be active and they might eat a lot of processed food or takeaways, and they'd be like, oh, I feel fine. But it's that case that they don't know what it feels like to feel good, to know that
Exactly.
what they're
Yeah.
feeling right now isn't fine. So what can people do in their like day-to-day lives, I'd say starting from today, that can help them with their like their mental health and their emotional fitness, kind of some of the stuff you teach? What's just like a basic thing they can do every day to help them get on that path of like being better and feeling better and kind of just thinking better?
Yeah, I think a key thing, and even just before you even touch on that, like you're saying there, some people can live in a state of stress and they don't even realize that they are. They think this is the norm. From a physiological perspective, it can come from Joe Dispenza. What can actually happen here is when we're in a stress and heightened state physiologically, our body produces adrenaline. And as we know, adrenaline is a chemical release in the body that gives us energy, it gives us this heightened state. And when it's basically coming back from the ancient times, when we're in this heightened state of adrenaline rushing through our body, we're in what's called a sympathetic nervous system state. So this is where again adrenaline is heightened up, our blood pressure goes higher, our heart rate goes higher, and we actually get and feel energy from that. So what can happen sometimes with stress is because we're in a stress and heightened state, adrenaline is constantly being released and produced through the body. So sometimes what can actually happen subconsciously, we actually get addicted to stress because of this energy it actually gives us. But over a prolonged period of time is when we experience and we live this heightened stress state of adrenaline being produced, it can actually put us in dis-ease. And a beautiful thing that I learned from Jerry Hussey is dis-ease is lack of ease. It's in the word dis-ease. And from a health perspective, that's what can happen in a prolonged period of time with stress. So I think for me and what I do, I'm managing my clients is number one, it's to look at areas that could be causing stress. So is how do I wake up in the morning? Most people wake up straight away in the morning and we're in this reaction mode already. Jez, I'll go on Instagram and see what's happening. I'll go on Facebook and see what's happening. Or right now, I suppose with everything happening, I might go on to the news and see what's going on. And straight away, we're in reactive mode. So we're tipping in to that sympathetic nervous system, producing the chemicals of stress straight away. So creating a morning routine where you're not in reactive mode, whether that's doing a simple 10-minute meditation, whether it's doing a bit of movement, stretching, listen to a bit of music, do something that gets you in tune with your body and your mind. And then throughout the day, it comes back to the simple things that we all know that sometimes we don't all do. How am I eating? And what's the environment I'm eating within? Am I in a rush state? Am I throwing it down me? What way am I kind of eating? And what's the food I'm eating? Again, we only perform as good as we fuel ourselves. Again, if we want a car performing optimally, again, we put the right fuel into it, we service it on time, we put the right oil into it, everything. If you look at it in Formula One, the cars there and the money that goes into them and the quality of stuff that goes into them with the whole background team, how do you think that car performs so well? It's because of the quality of what's in it and what's around it. And I think that's the way you have to live your life as well, knowing what's the quality I'm living in and what's the area and environment I'm surrounding myself with. And I think trying to become more aware of that. And then what I notice even with clients is sometimes when we do go on this journey and then when we do start, they realize, Jesus, this is what it actually feels like to be relaxed. I'm like, yeah, it's completely normal. Just your life has been normal because you've been addicted to living in stress because of the chemicals it can release. And I think it's trying to find them things, like I was saying, the quality of what I'm putting into myself, both physically and through my ears. And then it's creating, I think, them morning routines I find is so important rather than going into reactive mode already. And then again, you'll probably notice yourself is finding some routine before we go to bed. So at the end of our day, especially if you're working from home right now, you're still in like a work type environment. So imagine if I told you right now, right, I want you to go to sleep in your office. I think, Jesus, you're so mad. But sometimes what's happening right now is we're working in the sitting room, we're working in the bedroom, we're doing whatever, and we're actually working in this physical environment. So then when we try to switch off, our mind sometimes doesn't know the difference between work and right, this is the time to rest and recover. So having that routine where it's pre-bed, where it's either again doing meditation, listening to music, reading a book, or even going out for a simple walk, like what I've tried to get myself and some of my clients doing right now is when I decide, right, this is the time I'm going to finish work at today, is to go on a bit of a walk or again do something like I was speaking about there earlier to break that gap between the stimulus and the response. So that's I think a few simple things, but as you know yourself, and I think it's just keeping the simple things basic And then finding and asking them questions that sometimes we don't ask ourselves is why am I not living this? Or why do I not do this? And for some people, it can be a certain thing that they're living in the past or a certain belief that they hold about themselves. I can't do this, Dan. So Jesus, I'm not fit.
Yeah.
Or Jesus, I don't know, Dan. Jesus, I really want to make a big change. I want to feel much, much better. But I know I can't do it. Well, of course you can. You just told yourself you can't do it. And I think that's why it's even to really become aware of what's the words I'm telling myself or what's the story I'm telling myself. Because again, you'll probably see it work with clients as well. When people will always say, Jesus, there's not a chance I could do another round of that for that many reps. So you so mad. I couldn't go 5 kg heavier than that. There's not a chance. And I'll always say to clients, you know what, you're right. There's not a chance you're going to do it. And they look at me. What do you mean there's not a chance you're going to be able to do it? Well, you just told me you're not going to be able to do it. So you've already created the outcome. And that's why I think communication and with ourselves is one of the most important things you can ever do. Like,
Yeah, I think that that perception of like awareness, because like you were saying, of people telling themselves they can't do this, or not haven't felt what it's like to be relaxed. Because a lot of, clients can relate to it, is especially people who run their own businesses or are really busy at work. They you tell them, like, there's a lot of stress going on in your life, and you always get that response, no, I'm not stressed, like this is normal, it's not stressed. And you always give the thing, if they ever go on holidays, then for a 2 week holiday, like, you can nearly guarantee that they spend the first 4 or 5 days of that holiday feeling sick or feeling down or no energy, because it's just the first time in probably 8 months that their body's got a chance to recover. So I think for a
yeah,
lot of people, when they actually do have that downtime and feel how bad they can feel, it just shows how much stress people are putting on the body. And I think just
yeah.
keeping along that kind of that topic of that health and wellness. I know last year you had a bit of a health scare, and kind of like, I know, I just wanted to kind of tell people kind of like what happened and how did that help shape your like mindset towards training and towards life and living a small bit.
Yeah, like so basically I suppose what happened to me, when was it again, last year, so November. Um Basically what was happening, I was actually in a coaching session at the time working with clients, and that whole week I had a lot going on in terms of workload. I done 2 talks on the Friday, which I never do, because as much as I love speaking, it does take a lot out of you because you're completely present in that moment and so engaged. But I had a lot of workload on that week in terms of speaking, in terms of working with clients on a one-to-one and group basis. And it was Saturday morning. I woke up, went into the coaching session, and I had 2 massive black bags underneath my eyes. Before I was like, do you know what would be grand? I'll just do the session, so I can just go back to bed and rest. And in the middle of the session, got this random pain in my chest. And again, sometimes when we get pains coming up or certain things, we think, sure, classic Irish person, it'll be grand, it'll be gone in a few seconds. And then, like a light switch, it just came on, and a massive dart in the side of my chest. And then I was struggling to breathe. I couldn't really see in front of me, couldn't really hear much. And I was convinced, right, this is a heart attack. And then I kind of just stumbled onto the ground. And then from there, obviously rushed into A&E in the hospital. And basically what happened was I had a collapsed lung. So it was a full, complete collapse of the lung. Apparently, one of the nurses told me that my oxygen levels were at like 70 something percent, which is quite dangerous. And any longer that could have went on, it could have led to something much worse. Um, so obviously it was a massive health scare. And for me at the time, during back then, like I thought, like, why is this happening to me? Why is this actually going on? And now when I suppose I kind of look at it now and everything that happened, everything went on, it's been an absolute blessing in disguise. Because as you said, it's taught me so much. It's made me realize and open my mind so much. And I think if it wasn't for that, or wasn't what happened, it wouldn't allow me again to think the way I do and live the way I do. And like that, for me, I was probably that person who didn't even realize what it felt, what it actually was to feel relaxed, because there's always so go. And I think, like, from a business owner and even from a coach's perspective, sometimes you give out so much but sometimes you don't give so much to yourself. And it was something that, again, I always knew but never practiced or preached, subconsciously. And for me now, it's taught me the value of actually slowing down. And that's why even I'm speaking to people now, like, Jesus, of course, what's going on right now is horrendous, and it's unknown, but for some people who aren't affected by it, it's an incredible time. And people are like, Jesus, Dan, I feel great. I've never felt like this in young. So I'm like, yeah, what's the reason why? You're actually slowing down. You're breathing. You're not rushing. Your mind's not going like a race car 100 miles an hour around every corner. And for me, it was when I got sick, I realized, geez, I'm actually living my life in pure stress and pure busyness. And even within there at that time, it taught me a few incredible lessons. And the main one for me was, it's a quote and a saying I always say to everyone I work with, that every mess has a message. And if you look at any situation you're in, and there's a little bit of, it's maybe something you're not expected, something you're finding tough, there's always a message within that time. And I think it's for you to try and take that time and look at, right, again, with everything that's happening right now, instead of asking the question, why is this happening to me, is what is this actually teaching me? And for me, it taught me so much. That was one of the biggest takeaways. And it taught me really how short life actually is, and how incredibly lucky we are. Again, one of my other good friends that you would have known, Vinny, one of my good friends, Foley, unfortunately died at the age of 23. And that was about 8 to 10 months back. And for me, being honest with myself, I probably just created my life busy to cover up that trauma. And for obviously that happening, and this sending me to a hospital bed, it really did open my eyes to how incredibly lucky we are to even if you're listening to this podcast right now, to have headphones in your ear and even listen to me and Vinny's voice. The blessing that actually is to have right now. And it's to notice how short life actually is, and it's to make the most out of it. And I think that's why when I left that hospital, I was like, right, whatever happens, there's nothing that's going to knock me down. And whatever happens, I'm going to make the absolute best out of every situation where I can and where possible. And again, if even the life acronym, what I try to live now is live fully every day. It's in the word, like, and I think if we can have that response into our own lives, and yes, some days you wake up, you won't be fecking positive Polly walking around with your shoulders right back and your head up high, but that's okay. Sometimes what can happen is when you're not feeling great, number one, you don't do anything practically to move that energy. Again, emotion is energy in motion. So if we're not moving physically, we're not producing the chemicals that allow us to feel better, such as oxytocin, dopamine, or again, it's a thing that we're attaching ourselves to that emotion. Again, Vinny, I say, "Jeez, Vinny, your hair looks shite." But you might be thinking, "Oh, feck, my hair doesn't look shite. I think it's great." But I could say that exact same response then again, and then you could attach yourself to that saying, "Jeez, maybe my hair does look shite. Jeez, maybe I need to go get this cut." Feck, what if he's saying that? What if everyone else is thinking that? And sometimes what can happen is when a certain emotion comes, we allow ourselves to be attached to that emotion. And that's why what I learned was the beautiful idea of non-attachment. If we're feeling a certain emotion on a certain day, it's that idea of, right, you know what, it is what it is. Number one, can I not attach myself to this right now? And if that still doesn't work, then when it comes to it, that's where I can practically do things to move the energy out of the body. Walk, exercise, anything at all. Like, is to try and find that thing that allows you to move that energy out of the body. And that's even what I do a lot with clients, is showing you how incredible it is by doing movement, by doing exercise, by doing meditation, by doing all these things, how it can actually practically, physiologically, mentally move and change the energy of your body. Like, and I suppose they've been a few learning lessons for me from that time. There's so much more I could talk about all day.
Yeah, I think there's
Yeah.
I think like for a lot of people, like, and people listening, I know, and a lot of younger fellas who are into the gym and weightlifting, and then there's a lot of people who are kind of older. People might have families, just working busy hours, and that they can see like someone who's a trainer who's into his fitness, nutrition, and they can still kind of like be overcome and like have a health scare from stress and not managing that properly. Like, and it's really important for people to take that into consideration, that like nobody's bulletproof. Like you have to be putting in at least as much into your body as you're giving out, like with energy, time, work. So I think like that's massively important for you just to come on and share that message, just so it's kind of like an eye opener for people that someone who's in the fitness and health industry, that it can still happen to someone like that. So if I'm not looking after myself, it can happen to me too.
Exactly, yeah. And I think even as a coach perspective, sometimes we can, like I was saying, we can always be giving out so much to others and not to ourselves. And I think for me in the past, I was always doing that so much, giving out so much to other people and not giving that much time for myself. And then if someone contacted me or wanted to work with me, I'd feel bad being saying, look, I'm full, I can't actually take you on. So I just take on so much work. And again, it becomes a beautiful way. I love to describe it. If I give you, Vinny, if I gave you a piece of rope right now and there's 20 kg attached to that, could you pull that rope?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, no bother to you. What if I say that changed exact same situation, only change a few certain things? So you're going to do that for, let's say, 3 kilometers, pull that 20 kg rope. You'd still be able to do it, no bother. But every 100 meters, we're going to increase that by 20 kg. Would you be able to pull the rope then?
It's going to get tough really quickly.
It's going to get very tough very quickly. So sometimes what can happen is, with everyone, we take on so much. You can start off with something nice and light and nice and easy, but we try add more, and do more and do more and do more. And I think with the world that we're living in right now, everyone's all about like growing yourself, learning more, becoming the best version of yourself, which is absolutely incredible. But I think it's to find a balance between that, because I was that person who was always pushing, trying to do more, achieve more. And the more I did that and the more pressure I put on myself, the more harsh I was on myself and didn't acknowledge what I was doing, what I was achieving. I created that stress state in my body, and then my body responded in that way to send me to a hospital bed for me to learn. So I think it's a way to, of course, progress and push yourself and challenge yourself, but know when to rest and when to push.
Yeah, perfect. Because I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to like be able to relate to this and take a lot from this. So first of all, I just want to thank Dan of DGPT for coming on, sharing his story, giving us some tips and information. For anybody who's looking to find out more about what you do or give out some of the information, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me, I suppose, on the old social medias, at the DGPT. So you'll find that's my main Instagram and Facebook account. Still working on a website at the moment. It's www.dgpt.ie. We're still in the process, so don't judge me on the website just yet. And then again, for anything, if any questions in relation to anything today, or just to see more about what I do, they're probably the best places to see all the stuff they do. And then if you want to contact me again, social media or emails at info@dgpt.ie.
Perfect. And lads, thanks to everyone who's listening. There's been great support the first couple episodes. So thanks, and I'll catch you in the next one.